There's a wind that blows in from the north.
Before Sunrise, released in 1995, is one of the greatest romantic dramas of all time. I'm convinced that Richard Linklater is inspired by Rohmer, one of the key directors of the French New Wave, specifically the style of pure dialogue films, kind of lacking plot while depicting love and humanity in the form of pure emotion. So besides reinventing the style of one of the greats, let's talk about why this film works. We often hear the rule, show don't tell in cinema, but what about the whole catalog of dialogue films? But does this rule apply? The answer is yes. Through dialogue you show with subtext, and there's also so much being shown in the pauses and the places where there is an absence of dialogue. You aren't telling the audience anything here, you're showing them. And of course, the cinematography and the acting also does a lot of the work, but more on that later. But how does this film create such a unique romance? It's authenticity. The conversation is natural, it isn't trying too hard, yet it's beautiful, and it's all things that could be said by real people. It's believable, especially pretentious know-it-alls in their 20s falling in love. And as evident in the previous sentence, these characters are flawed. They could be you, because you're flawed, as everyone else is flawed. Yet there's still this sense of euphoria of being in love in your 20s. They can't stop smiling, they forget all their responsibilities, and this is what being young and in love is. And of course, Linklater develops this and creates a true love story within the trilogy. But right now I'm focusing on this romantic utopia where Linklater highlights the art of conversation. I think we as audience members get hooked because this is our dream. All of us want this, and so we become consumed and invested in these characters. We've all sat on a train or on a park bench and wanted nothing more than to go up to a person and talk to them. But we don't. Unless you do, but at least I don't, and this is what I wish had happened, which makes us so invested in this film. But the main conflict of this film is time, something abstract which makes it so powerful. There is a time lock. In the back of their mind the whole time as they're falling in love, they know that they have to leave, yet they're not rushed, and it just adds this layer of tension between them, and between us, the audience. They know that this has to end, and I think that this is just a microcosm to love itself. Our battle or conflict is always with time. When we're young and in love, we can't help but think what it will be like when the honeymoon phase is over, or if we should get out of the relationship to explore other people before we're too old and nobody wants us, or who's gonna die first, or when this relationship is gonna go to shit. We're always racing time, or at least that's how I feel. But we don't want to waste it because our time is so short, especially Celine and Jesse. They have very little time and they need to make the most, yet they don't do it for a while. Even though it would have been more poetic in theory if they hadn't slept together, I think this is just a reflection of real life because of course they sleep together because they're soulmates. I think the overall pacing and use of time is important. Everything unfolds in a single night, so we feel like we're there. There's no natural slow development over time which can feel too slow and take us out of it, but it's so sudden and instant, it really feels like young soulmates. But there's specifically two key scenes that I think depicts Linklater's magic lovemaking on screen. So firstly, the most famous scene from the film, the listening booth. You can't help but smile because their chemistry is so palpable. Through the use of this low-angle close-up, it feels cramped, bordering on claustrophobic, but instead it just makes us feel very intimate with the characters and as if they're intimate with each other. It's like they're cornered in the situation. Also, since it's handheld, the scene feels less constructed and superficial and more natural. And this imperfect cinematography is reminiscent of Rohmer, where the barrier between audience and characters is removed, as we are within the characters in the story. And the beautiful acting, the back and forth glances and turning away, the silence is loud and we know exactly what they're thinking, because most of us have been in a situation like this. Also the tension. It establishes tension without release, as they haven't kissed yet even though we want them to and they want to. Linklater keeps us waiting, so we keep watching, wanting to release this tension. And then of course, the diegetic song, Come Here. We know that they're both thinking about the lyrics, because they're true to the situation. The next scene I want to talk about is the closing, where we see shots of the city and the places they were, now at day. This encapsulates what it's like to be in love. All these ordinary places, they become special when you're there with that person. But these places, they stay, while you're temporary and that moment is temporary. But these places' stories are not over. They will have other lovers, other families, and moments pass through. But these characters, they'll always remember them in the lens of their romance, which I think is beautiful. This film is just so warm and special, and I feel like I'm the one falling in love when I watch it. I just can't stop smiling, and I feel that explosion of energy that makes you just want to jump up and down, and I think that's special. But this film is wonderful. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. The whole trilogy, you'll laugh, cry, smile, want to kill yourself. The perfect combination in any film. And also watch Rohmer's work, because it captures the same feeling, only in French, making it even more beautiful. I really thought video essays would make me watch more film, but so far I've just been rewatching my favorite films. but please let me know what films you think I should do. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed.